Welcome to Second Earth Alternative, the channel where we go over the extraordinary, the mysterious, the type of stories that will make your jaws drop in absolute disbelief. Now you might want to stay till the end of the episode because we have some images that will make you feel like you're in an X-Files episode. One of them that I incidentally discovered when I placed a layer, an increased size layer. I honestly didn't think much of this image, and now I'm really kind of thinking, holy crap, we might actually have an extraterrestrial alien in a photograph. So to get this episode started, I wanted to go over some images that was provided by somebody who actually claimed to be abducted by aliens. Now, many may not believe in alien abduction, but now that we know that UFOs are real, at least as reported by some Pentagon officials as well as the US Navy, the idea that whatever is piloting these crafts, be it some kind of humanoid creature, that it could actually interact with humans, that it could actually do experiments with humans, well, it doesn't seem so far off anymore, does it? Unless, of course, you'd rather believe in Transformers. But what I found so interesting about these images is that it actually matched a previous footage that we highlighted on this episode that was pretty remarkable. So if you're curious what that video looked like, well, here it is.
That? Where is it here? That is, can you see it? Keep an eye on it. Just get out and look. Just get out and look. That is not, that's a real flight, that's a real UFO right there, I'm not joking. I can't even get it in focus here, damn it. There it is. It's coming up close. It's sitting right there, dead still. Actually, it's not dead still. It's flickering. And it's kind of moving.
So I want to start off by reading the email of this individual. So he writes here, "The other night, I believe I was possibly followed by a UFO on my way home. At first I thought it was a star, but it looked really low and appeared to be more than one point of light. Shortly after sighting it, it crossed over the highway. I was on the north side of the highway. I was doing over 100 kilometers per hour, and it matched my pace for maybe 4 minutes or so. Not really sure. I took some pictures, and when I tried to switch the video, I glanced down for just a second or two and looked back, and it was gone. To my amazement, nowhere in sight. Vanished. Just didn't see it again. I looked everywhere I could while driving, and it wasn't far enough to have been lost behind a cloud. It was too fast for a civilian drone and did not have red or green lights that are typically on aircraft. And if it was an aircraft that close, it would have been very easy to tell. Not saying that this is aliens, but it was very strange." And I agree. When we did some analysis on these images, it did look somewhat strange. So without further ado, here is our analysis. So here are the first 4 images from our alien abduction victim. Now, some people might think that, oh, this is just a little spot in the sky. But really, you have to look at the context of the situation. First of all, this individual has given us a video that seems to resemble this object. And also, when you take the images and you look at the photo forensics, you see that this is indeed a real image. There's no manipulation that happened here. And if you look at the metadata, well, this image came from this program, this software. So what is this software exactly? So if we just Google it real quick, that is a Note 9, Samsung Note 9. So not only did he give us a video that looks identical to the object, we also have verified that this indeed came straight off his phone. So even if you don't think this is a UFO, you gotta tell me. I mean, it doesn't look like a drone to me, and it's certainly not an airplane, so what else could it be? So what I did is I just kind of augmented the size and just kind of played with the channels just a little bit to get this as enhanced as possible. And this is what we get for the first image, which looks interesting. I mean, it's pixelated, it's difficult to see, but check out this kind of blackish void around the object. I find this really interesting because, first of all, the object is lit. So how is it that an object that is lit has a surrounding right next to it that's actually devoid of pixels, that's devoid of colors? This seems almost unnatural in regards to physics, and we've depicted UFOs from NASA that have the exact same property as was described by Bob Lazar, that these objects tend to be in a type of bubble, a thermodynamically isolated bubble, and which would make sense when you look at the idea that there's little to no pixelation compared to the rest of the surrounding. You can actually see this with this object. Now this object is moving in a little bit, so it's a little bit more difficult to ascertain exactly what this is, but if we do enhance it, I want to show you what we get here in the end. And so this one I kind of put an exclusion filter just to kind of show you how the layers are separating. But specifically I want to show you, I mean, this is kind of an inverse layer, the way that it's being played, but look at this bubble that you see around the object. Once again, it doesn't look like natural lighting that's just dissipating from the object. It looks like a defined energy bubble around what could be a craft. Now these next two really caught my attention, and it caught my attention for two reasons. First of all, this one seems to be the most clean of all the images. There's obvious geometry in this one. Let's go ahead and enhance it. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Very strong geometric patterns. You have very defined layers. One central yellow kind of layer with almost like a dot in the middle. You have this weird orange thing that goes around it, and then once again you have this darkening that goes right around the object, which doesn't really make sense if the object is lit. So what is this? And what I found so fascinating about this image is how closely it resembled what looked to be the object that he captured in his video. If you can see, the object is kind of yellowish and red. That's the main color that it seems to take. But at a certain point in the video, the color changes. And this really got my attention because look at this. So you have a yellow red here, and then you have almost like a silvery type of craft that the color changes into. In his last image, you get that silvery type of look, just like as you saw in the video. Let me go ahead and enhance that for you. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, it's pixelated, but when you take in all the context, it's very strange. This doesn't seem like it's an airplane or anything else. Knowing that the image was forensically verified, I would say that this individual captured something perhaps extraordinary. So as you can see, it not only looked like the UFO that he provided on the video format, something else that's very important to note is that these images were forensically verified. And if you look at the software over here, this basically signifies they came from a Note 9 Samsung phone and nothing else. No Photoshop, no other digital program was used to bring about this image. So if you think this is a drone or a plane, by all means, I guess you can believe that. But from our analysis, it looks like this is something that's a little bit stranger than that. So the next set of images is rather interesting. It kind of follows the pattern that the government has been giving regarding UFOs. Specifically, a recent article that we reported on talked about how UFOs are often pyramid or triangular shaped. Now, this isn't a quote-unquote UFO. It's actually more of a cloud formation that resembles something that almost looks too perfect to be natural. It's tough to tell, we really don't know, but let me read the email that this individual wrote and you can decide for yourself what you think this is. So this individual writes, just what I perceived as pivoting craft in the sky that was cloaked. The pics are a few weeks old, and this actually was once again verified through forensic analysis. I have a filter over the lenses that I was attempting to see in the different light spectrums with. When I noticed a potential object, I peeled off the filter off the outside of the phone and took 6 or 7 pics of it with nothing but the phone's camera. It's probably nothing. Now, when somebody says that, it almost gives me a sense of like, maybe this individual is being real because they're definitely not trying to embellish the story any more than what it is. But continuing here, but I saw the headlines for the military pyramid, triangle, whatever UFO videos, and I remember taking these sometime in the last few weeks. And if there's something there, Well, there you go. So he does say that he shot this with a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 back camera, which we were able to verify. And in the end, he adds, these pics had an external filter that is just the end strip of an old exposed film negative, covering the lens, then unfiltered. So I worked at a photography studio prior to this, and I'm pretty certain that a film negative will cut off certain wavelengths so that you get closer to the kind of infrared light. So I think that's what he means by trying to cut some of the color channels to try to see if this object, if it is an object, can be seen any more so than just a regular camera lens. Now, I should note that cloud UFOs are something that has been highly debated by the scientific community. This particular National Geographic article tries to claim that it's just lenticular clouds. Now, lenticular clouds are formed when cold winds pass through a mountain or some kind of raised object, and then these formations, these cloud formations, start appearing that are basically perpendicular to the direction of the wind. And there's also this particular strange cloud formation that was captured in North Carolina, which is due to ice residues basically falling from the cloud and essentially creating what looks almost like a perfect circle. But you see, the thing is, both of these articles, in trying to say that clouds can be UFOs or can be mistaken as UFOs, these articles are talking about circular patterned UFOs. And this is certainly not that case, nor do we see a mountain underneath this triangular object. So here's our analysis. So here are the UFO cloud images. We actually got a lot of these images. The kind of reddish one, I believe, is the one where he placed a film negative to kind of isolate some of the channels. And I don't know if you see this right away, but here's the regular image. And here it is with the photo filter. Do you kind of see that? There's some weird, almost perfectly triangular shape in the middle of his images. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not the first one to kind of be like, oh yeah, clouds are UFOs, but there is some things to pay attention here that could be interesting. So let's go ahead and just analyze one of these. First, I wanted to go ahead and place this in the photo forensic program. So let's choose the file. Once again, you don't see any error with the image. And the metadata depicts that this was a Samsung. The software was the Note 9 itself, just like the other viewer. And this image was indeed captured relatively recently, as it says here, March 11th, 2021. So the viewer has been accurate so far with all his details. So now that we know that this is a legitimate image, let's go ahead and see what we got here when we do some analysis. So if you just throw a quick channel mixer. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a cloud, but there's what looks to be a very distinct shape in this object. In fact, you can almost draw this perfectly. Let's take a look. We go here to this end, to this end. And let's just add a layer, and just want to show you how perfect this thing actually is, or this cloud, if you want to call it a cloud. Oh, look at that. That is really, I'll be honest with you, that is a little bit strange. Just because of how perfect the lines actually are. And also, what is this circle here, in this little circle? So let's go ahead and look at his filtered version, just to see if there's any major difference with it. Well, right off the bat, it does look a little bit more clear right away. And let's go ahead and try to change this channel mixer. That actually, I'll be honest with you, that almost looks more cloud-like than the previous version that we had, but it's still relatively symmetrical. And I just want to see if there's any variation. I think he was claiming that the object might have rotated, but this one rotated a little bit, but in reference to the building, it looks like it's the same direction. So, like, I'm gonna say that this one is just, there's no way to tell, really. It's a little bit strange. It seems to be unusually symmetrical for a cloud, like really unusually symmetrical. But I like the fact that the viewer was skeptical in his email and was claiming that he's not really certain either whether this is just a cloud or if it could be something more mysterious masking underneath the clouds. Yeah, I'll be honest, this one is somewhat debatable, but the geometry was pretty dead on, and it does give me some doubts as to whether this could actually be possible. Now, the only reason why I say that, now I know there's a lot of people right now who might be skeptical of this, but I say this because we got an image from somebody else who claimed to have been abducted by aliens that is absolutely, I don't know how to say it, it's incredible. Because when this individual gave me this particular image of a cloud that has no mountain underneath, that doesn't seem to be carved by ice crystals, well, he didn't mention anything other than this cloud looks strange. But when we analyze this with the channel filters in Photoshop, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, take a look. This individual gave me this image, which he claimed was a UFO disguising behind a cloud. Now, I'll be honest, given that there's almost no clouds in that sky, given that there's no mountain underneath that can create the lenticular clouds that National Geographic say is the reason for these circular type of clouds, it's starting to look interesting. But watch what happens when I try to penetrate the cloud layer with a channel mixer. So you're gonna try to tell me that this is a cloud? Let me show you. Here is the previous layer. So that's what the previous layer looks like. It not only looks smoother, more symmetrical, but it actually has symmetry, just like a craft does. Let me overlay that. Take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you want to believe that that's a cloud, sure, go for it. But my opinion is that this is a craft. It's very smooth on the edges. There's symmetry between the two different ends. And it almost looks like there's like a little window or a portal up here as well. And once again, this came from somebody who not only claimed to have been abducted by aliens, but had provided evidence, and his description of the case was corroborated with other individuals who had very similar experiences as this individual. So, can UFOs be disguised in clouds? Well, if we're going by the evidence that was displayed from the last image, well, I certainly don't think that's a cloud. I think it's pretty obvious from our analysis that there's something very distinct that's kind of symmetrical and seems to have form of not only very straight lines, unlike the cloud formation, but a type of almost three-dimensionality to the object. It's really strange. Which actually reminded me of a particular UFO that some individuals have claimed might contain a ET in it. Now, many of you who are into the subject might actually know about this. This was captured in Turkey, and I'll be honest, when I first looked at this, I'm like, really? There's an ET in this? There's nothing. It just looks like a tiny little bulb or whatever. Then I decided to augment the image by using one of Photoshop's layers that essentially recreates pixels by using an artificial intelligence. And my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it does feel like I'm an X-Files episode, because look what we got here. And the thing that I discovered with this that absolutely shocked me today is that when you look from afar, it doesn't look like you can really tell what this is. So people are like, oh yeah, there's an alien in there. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, really? Can you really tell that there's an alien there? And then I decided to try to enhance it. And ladies and gentlemen, here is the result. Can you cue the X-Files music, because this is absolutely insane. Not we just have two eyes, an obvious three-dimensional head with the lighting shining the exact direction in which the lighting is coming from the craft. As you see it shining from the left side of the craft, you also see it shining on what appears to be a head with two eyes. But you also see a very skinny long neck and something, I don't know, is this like some kind of suit that it's wearing? Or is it inside some kind of device? I don't know, it looks very strange. I did not expect to see something this clearly, ladies and gentlemen. And all I did was just do some channel treatments and basically increasing the contrast, enhancing the size with some of the Photoshop layers. So here is this small version. You can barely see anything. And here's the big version. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is our UFO analysis. If that's not an alien, then I don't know what is. Mark Zuckerberg? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for following us. And don't forget to like the video and comment below. That is, if you enjoyed the video. And if you have any images, any videos of your own that you would like to perhaps share with this channel, please contact us at EaFiles.contact at gmail.com. This is Felipe speaking, signing out.